You're listening to Campfire Tales, a horror podcast written by Daniel Marq.
The Hunt.
To Miss Elijah Gumshoe, Pinesbrook, Sovereignshire, December 24th, 1917. Dear Mother, apologies I can't make it home for Christmas this year. I found myself pursuing quite an interesting new hobby, one that I seem to be gifted in if I do say so myself. Hunting just isn't the same over there in Pinesbrook as it is over here in Abel. Far more trees, far more untamed land, far more meat to claim. There are animals here I have never even seen in Pinesbrook. The wonder of new lands, I suppose. Few cities here, however, burgeon far faster than they have any right to. Soon the woods I explore will no longer even be mine to do so, which makes my stay here all the more important. The forest does, of course, have its dangers, but to climb up a mountain is rarely an easy one. There's always a few loose rocks or an annoying turn in the weather. The metaphorical rock in my case would be the few natives I run into during my expeditions, although they serve more as pebbles to me than anything. After all, a bullet is a bullet. It brings death to any creature, whether they walk on 4 legs or 2. Either way, Mother, I hope you pray for me. Yours sincerely, Arthur Gumshoe. January 19th, 1819. Dear Mother, I have come across many tales about this forest. One beauty in particular, a smart little critter with a penchant for hiding, a white stag. I've gone out into the wilderness to look for it on more than a few occasions, and I believed for a moment that I had shot it down as well, but unfortunately it just turned out to be nothing more than a native girl wearing a white pelt. Her scalp sold for quite a bit, but her head sold for more. I'm not after money, Mother, and you know this. I'm after greatness. I'm after infamy. I want Arthur Gumshoe to be a name of notoriety when people speak of hunting. The white stag is just one of the many wondrous gifts this forest has to offer. I'm certainly not one to deny these gifts, of course. Pray for me, Mother. Yours sincerely, Arthur Gumshoe. January 21st, 1918. It would seem that the white deer I had managed to track and hunt down yesterday turned a few of the correct heads towards me. I was invited to a hunting party yesterday. They said that my expertise in hunting particularly rare species of animals might prove useful in their hunt for a certain beast. You see, Mother, there was a clinic nearby that was flooded with patients recently. A certain man in that clinic had died not quite too long after he had arrived. And although his death was reported and confirmed by many nurses, they could not in fact acquire the man's corpse. His bloody footprints walked straight out of the window, it would seem. But it is my hypothesis and that of the hunting party that he was not some phantom or ghost, but a much more plausible being. A beast that uses the skin of the dead to hide in plain sight. Something that could and would utilize the corpse in this way. It isn't exactly clear, Mother, for exactly how long the beast used the man's corpse, and perhaps the man never entered the clinic alive in the first place. But what is clear is that I, Arthur Gumshoe, will be the one to find it, claim its skin as my own for a change. Ha! Either way, I hope you continue to pray for me, Mother. Yours sincerely, Arthur Gumshoe. February 2nd, 1918. The hunter's party and I have settled down within the woods themselves. It would be simply inefficient to transport all of our heavy equipment back and forth from even the nearest town. It would be irresponsible, however, to just abandon our expensive tools unattended in the woods. Instead, we've come to the agreement of eating and sleeping within the wooden walls of this here cabin. I can't quite say that I miss the town, Mother, for the same reason I don't quite miss Pinesbrook. Too many people, too grey. I prefer the black of the nightly woods, the green of canopies and the red of a kill. So I quite enjoy my time in this cabin. I hunt even when we are not out scouting, providing meat for the rest of the pack for their hard work. I am, however, displeased with that snot-ridden researcher tagging along with us. He possesses a gun too, and I suppose he can still use it, but I can only bear so much of his relentless coughing and constant blabbering and complaining. If it were truly up to me, I'd have him leave the group, either courteously or as a volunteer to assist me in practicing my aim. Oh, and if you're reading this before I manage to send it, being the nosy little bugger you are, I'll have you know that I meant exactly what you think I meant. Either way, I hope you're praying for me, Mother. Sincerely, Arthur Gumshoe. February 7th, 1918. That old fart is now bedridden, covered in snot and constantly barking about headaches and pains in his joints. The other folks are beginning to discuss whether to take him back to town because of how much of a burden he is to take care of. All I can say is that they should have trusted my better judgment. For now we are far too deep in the woods to do that without wasting precious time and manpower. The beast could arrive at any moment after all. I offered to put the wretched thing out of his misery, but the thought was apparently unseemly to my colleagues. They've elected to put him in storage for now. They've set up a small cot for him and everything. A shame, really. His scalp might have sold for something at least. I know he isn't a local, but his skin does possess a similar color. In more pressing news, however, we seem to have lost a member. I did a head count recently and was one man short. If he fled, he better stay fleeing. And if he was killed by the beast, then he was never a hunter worthy of being called one in the first place. February 9th, 1918. A few of the other hunters fell sick as well. Some of them are taking their hunt a bit too leniently now. At this rate, they've forgotten what sort of foe we are even facing. I went out hunting for meat as usual and realized only after emptying my ammunition that I was using the expensive silver bullets I had stashed to hunt the beast instead of the ones I regularly use. A clumsy mistake on my part, I must admit. I've got quite used to loading a rifle that I didn't need to look down for it, and I suppose I should have packed them in distinct boxes. Too late for regrets now, however. All we can really do is see if we have more in storage. When I returned, we tried to get into storage, but we were unable due to the door being apparently jammed. Many of us tried to take the door down with a kick or two. I realized here just how few of us remained. One well-placed whack with the back of the rifle knocked off the wood on the door in one foul swoop. After that, it was only a matter of crouching a little to get into storage. There we found his body. I had assumed at first that the bugger was asleep, but as it turned out when I looked at his face, blood ran down from his nose and mouth. How long was he like this? Was he ever really himself? Was the beast amongst us this whole time and just recently left his body? Why were the rest of the crew so defensive over this one person? Why were they so worried about him? Are they more than just one beast? Which ones are they? All questions I needed answer to quickly. I severely underestimated these things and their knack for mimicking us. We've perhaps been being picked off one by one already, and that is if they were this many in the first place. It horrifies me to think of the possibility that this was all just one of them. I need you to continue to pray for me, Mother. Yours sincerely, Arthur Gumshoe. February 13th, 1918. There's even less of us now. Our folk keep trudging into the woods and disappearing on us. They simply left, is what the others tell me. I'm not inclined to believe them, seeing as a few of them have already begun to clean off blood from their noses. Their fingers and cheeks have gone blue. It would seem that the corpses they wear continue to rot. Hence they switch skins often. They seem to be trying to play the long game with me. But it won't work. Only cowards retreat. Only cowards hide behind the skin of others. I am no such thing. Hellspawn. I will not be tempted to leave this cabin. No matter how lonely the days get, nor will your poison weaken my willpower, despite what it does to my lungs. Pray for me, Mother. I dearly require it. Arthur Gumshoe. February 17th, 1918. There's only one goddamn silver bullet left. Thankfully, by some miracle, there is only one of those things left. This one seems particularly persistent. Keeps begging me to leave alone with it. Complains of the same illnesses it has afflicted upon me. It is lying, however. I work with traps, and I know this is one. Trying to lure me out of the safety of these walls by promising me fresh air and freedom from this illness. I have to say, Mother, it had a devil's tongue, laced with blood, and almost had me want to believe him. But I persisted, Mother. I killed the wretched thing with one bullet to the head. I missed the sight of blood splattering. It just felt more lively than the sluggish drool of a leaky nose. But it is dead. God's blessing have kept me secure in this cabin. I can only have faith that it will continue to do so. Pray for me, Mother. Arthur Gumshoe. February 25th, 1918. I need to get out of here. I can't die like this. Great Arthur Gumshoe starved to death like a wild animal trapped in an abandoned cage. My head stings as though 1,000 needles are puncturing through my mind. My joints feel as though they would undo themselves at any second. I haven't been able to breathe utilizing my nostrils for days on end, and I can taste the rotten air of the decaying corpses in the other rooms of the cabin. Occasionally I see savages circle the cabin, skin like the trees they climb on. They stare at me as one would a wounded dog through the windows. Predatory eyes waiting for when I sleep. That time might come soon by the look of it. Whatever poison the creature has vested me with is ravaging my lungs completely, and I fear soon it will take my final breath. I never wanted this. I never wanted. I just want to be someone. Like Father. I wanted a legacy. I wanted to be remembered. I just wanted to leave a mark on this world. I see a deer in the distance, standing on the small cliff betwixt the branching fingers of the trees around it. Its fur is white, elegantly so, yet dirty slightly with the brown of old blood. A bullet wound on its side gave way its disguise. The creature smiled, almost knowingly. A malicious grin that stretched far past that of deer. So far back it stretched that its blood-red gums occupied more space in its mouth than its uneven stained teeth. One of its legs went limp. Like a loose coat sleeve, it dangled limply as a folding shape walked past its neck. The face of the white stag twisted, stretched its skin folded back to make space for the crimson limb slowly worming its way out from the side of its teeth. The limb was hoof-like at first before it unfolded into a palm. Long, gangly fingers stretched before folding back into itself, all except one. It pointed right at me through the window. No eyes, yet I felt the fury in its gaze pierce through my very soul. It was angry. It was grinning. It was vengeful. It was fulfilled. It would snicker and chuckle and cackle and laugh at the poor man whose body it will soon claim.